let us not forget our Sikh friends from the north, the fighters, who came to our rescue time and again with their fighting spirit. This is the year of the 100th anniversary of the Gandhi movement. The younger people may not know anything about the Gandhi movement. Some of the older ones like us will remember a little bit. I have Mr. Paramjit Singh, also a member of the Board of Trustees, to give us a little insight into the Gandhi movement before we close for the day. And before I invite Paramjit to come,
Happy Independence Day to all and everyone. I think it is an appropriate thing for us to remember everything that has gone into getting India's independence. And as Ashim mentioned, it is the Gandhi centennial. If you Google that, you will learn a lot more. But I'm going to speak to you more from a Cleveland perspective because we do have connections. First of all, it was in 1913 in Stockton, California, which established the first Sikh Gurdwara, that many Indians that were able to come to Canada, because in those days, like India, Canada was part of the British Commonwealth. And they worked, setting up railroad tracks, working in the timber factories, and willing to accept low-paying jobs, but were productive. And when things became tight in Canada, there was more discrimination. And then they found their way into the United States, first being the city of Astoria in Oregon. There is a proclamation that was issued by the mayor in 1913, acknowledging the people from India and their fight for freedom, because at the same time the Finnish were fighting for their independence. And as it happens, the India Cultural Garden is next to the Finnish Gardens. And it was that the Gandhi movement started because after the Indians came to this country, even though there was discrimination, they were able to experience what freedom looked like living in the United States. So all in all, it became a worldwide movement, although there weren't that many Indians all over, but they were there because a lot of the Indians even came here for higher education as they went to Germany and so on. And interestingly enough, Bhagat Singh Thind came here in 1912 to study at Berkeley. And when he ran short of money, he joined the Army of the United States to fight World War I. And he fought, he was honorably discharged, upon which he applied to become a citizen of this country. The judge gave him citizenship, which later was denied by the Immigration Department. The reason being, they accepted that he was a Caucasian, but he was not a white Caucasian. these are interesting things for us to know. I would also like to talk about the Ghadar movement, where they published the first paper in Urdu, and then one in Hindi, and another one in Gurmukhi, that was being mailed to all the Indians that were in Germany, Japan, Europe, and so on, kind of arousing the need to have India become independent. And they were all focused on fighting their way to gain independence. Now, during that same time, in 1916, you heard Rabindranath Tagore's rendition. Rabindranath Tagore was in Cleveland. He was invited by the British to plant a tree which was then known as the Shakespeare Garden, now the British Garden. And I think if you Google, you'll find Rabindranath Tagore being recognized here as the Shakespeare of India. So this went on. However, the Ghadar movement was not very successful, but incited enough people in India, because prior to the Ghadar movement, there was also a mutiny in India in Meerut in 1857 that you might have heard of. But that was primarily amongst the sepoys of India who were working for the East India Company. And they also tried to gain freedom, but were not successful. Later on, Subhash Chandra Bose, known as Netaji, also created an Indian National Army. And in all these cases, there was support coming from Germany, there was support coming from Japan to support India in getting arms to India and so on. Interestingly enough, they all failed. In the meantime, Gandhi in 1915 returned to India after being involved with supporting the Muslims and the Hindus in South Africa, where he was, trying to follow the Satyagraha movement, which is a movement of non-violence as well as peaceful means, civil disobedience. So, what is again very interesting to me is the fact that he was here in 1916, and we did some research, and apparently he was being contacted by people who were involved with the Ghadar movement. But I don't know what role he played, but the fact that he was here is important. And today, after gaining independence with civil disobedience and non-violence, we as Indians were able to influence Martin Luther King. India obtained its independence in 1947, following non-violence, and Martin Luther King was successful in achieving, through civil rights movement, establishing a way for the black community to move ahead. There's something about black and white. I don't know what that is. Because some of you may have been there when one of the ambassadors to Israel came and shared in her book that India gained its independence in 1947 and the State of Israel was formed in 1948, that a lot of Jews who were free to live in India, although they were asked to be in other countries, decided that they wanted to move to their homeland. I happen to be related. I had an aunt who passed away. She was a Jew from Calcutta. And she didn't move, but her relatives and so on moved to Israel. And what was surprising to me, that even in Israel, the white Jews were more central and the colored Jews were all around. So again, something to think about. But in any way, without taking too much of your time, I hope you see the Cleveland connection for the world. One is, Tagore was here in 1916 and planted a tree and was recognized as Shakespeare of India. Two, Gandhi obtained independence for India through non-violence. And today we are the only city in the world that has a Mahatma Gandhi statue on a Martin Luther King Drive. Please support the India Culture Garden.